Welcome back. Senior members of the Northern Territory government have come under fire for burying their heads in the sand and failing to get on top of a crime wave sweeping Alice Springs. 1 in 35 residents have had their homes ransacked just in the past year, while property damage is up by a quarter. Jacinta Price is the country Liberal Party's Senate candidate, a good friend of the show, of course. Her son's car was targeted in the early hours of Saturday morning. She joins me right now. Good to have you with us again, Jacinta.
Thanks for having me.
Good to have you with us. I think we've had your connection via Skype frozen there, but I'm sure we'll get it back in a second. I don't know whether you can hear me. You've spoken about the Northern Territory's crime issues before, and you've now had some more first-hand experience with it, right?
Yes. Son's car was the window of it was smashed. It's not something that's come to a surprise to us. We've lived on this street for 12 years. We've gone relatively unscathed over those 12 years without any issues with crime up until the last month, where we've had people attempting to get into the house and be in the yard. And so it was only inevitable, we feel, that this has happened, that my son's car window was smashed. And there's daily reports going on continually with regard to residents and people being bashed and being hospitalised with bashings, people's property being damaged, people experiencing crime non-stop, businesses having their property damaged. And it's just, locals have just absolutely had a gutful of it. And I had a gutful of understanding that there are children on our streets as young as 5 and 6 and up until the age of 18 who should be in bed instead of running around the streets at 2 a.m. in the morning, getting into all kinds of trouble. And as far as I'm concerned, this current government is failing and continuing to fail. I mean, given that there's been a 47% increase in break-ins, a 30% increase in sexual assaults. And it's not just Alice Springs, it's right across the Northern Territory at the moment, and locals have had a gutful of it. They're just absolutely sick of it. And during my last term on council, at no point did our Chief Minister ever visit the Alice Springs Town Council chambers, even when we asked for him to come to speak to us, to understand the concerns of the community, as community leaders ourselves, to work with the government to do something about the situation that we're all faced with. And it's really disappointing that we still feel like we're not being listened to.
Yeah, I could just imagine. I want to ask this, though. I followed a Facebook communication that you had this week. Is it true that Michael Gunner is someone that just ignores people like yourself because you're not from Labor's side of politics, and therefore there's no hope of getting government and council together to sort this out?
Absolutely. I mean, I know who he is. He knows who I am. I've stood right next to him in a coffee store in Darwin, and I've been completely and utterly fobbed off and ignored. There are other members of his, certainly of his cabinet, that have the respect to acknowledge you, to say hello to you, to have conversations with you. But as the leader himself, this is how he treats people, and he's supposed to represent me as a Territorian as well, and I certainly don't feel like I've been represented by him or listened to, and there are many Territorians who feel the same way, and there are those who feel concerned that if they speak out publicly about the failures of this government, that they would lose business opportunities, that they could lose their jobs if obviously they're in part of the public sector. The private sector won't air their concerns because, there are some businesses that rely on government contracts for them to survive. So we're held to ransom, basically, by this government. I mean, I've been speaking for years on the need to address domestic and family violence, the need to uphold the rights of Indigenous children and not have this racism of low expectations when it comes to ensuring that they have safe homes that they can live in, that they are looked after by people who are going to give them the love, the care, the attention, the need that certainly, our Chief Minister's child has.
So, Jacinta, this is not about Northern Territory Police or Alice Springs Police not knowing how to solve the problem. It's their inability to go out and solve the problem.
That's right. I mean, for a lot of our police officers are hamstrung in what they can and can't do. It was 2 years ago that I was involved in an altercation because there was a young drunk woman who was bashing a woman in her 60s at my local grocery store, and I intervened and I held this person to the ground because I no longer wanted her to be bashing people up. And until the police came, I got kicked in the head by her assailant. And 18 months later, I got a flimsy piece of paper with a one-sentence apology on it. There were possible talks of having the victim offender conference to have a conversation with this young woman about her actions and her behaviours, and that didn't take place.
Eventuated all. I've got to leave it there. I've run out of time, but we need to get back to the topic. We need to get back to that. Jacinta, thank you very much for your time.
No problem. Thanks for having me, Chris.
Okay, Jacinta Price.